Good evening. I want to call to order the City Council meeting for March 20th, 2017. But before we begin our council meeting, I just wanted to publicly say, this is our first meeting now with Josh. As you all know, we laid him to rest today. But we just publicly wanted to say on behalf of the council and as council president to thank his family and Josh for, he was a true public servant. He represented his constituents very well, and we can't thank him or his family enough for his time and his service, not just here in the city council, but he continued to always do from the community as far as I can remember, as far as long I've known Josh. So I'm just kind of dedicate this council meeting in his honor, and I'm going to ask for you to stand for invocation. Bobby Campbell, please.
I think also to be appropriate for all of us who know Josh well and went through this weekend with his family and friends, that we take a moment of silence in his memory of Josh at this time. So if everybody would, let's have a moment of silence in memory of Josh Rodriguez. I'm going to do something a little bit different this time in my invocation. There's a song by Smokey Norfolk that says that, "Dear God." And the lyrics in this song just reminds me of Josh and also reminds me of all of us that we never know what life's going to be like and how long our life's going to be, and we need to appreciate our life. So I'm going to read part of the lyrics as my invocation there, if you don't mind. It feels so good to make it this far. I didn't think I could take it so long. There were days I wanted to quit. I said, surely this is it, but I held on. And I watched as so-called friends turn and walk away. It hurts so much I didn't have words to say. But even when my day turns to night and nothing seems just right, Lord, I thank you for my life. And I watched you take my family from here to there. And when times were a little rough, God, I know you were there and you were near. In the moments I thought I'd fail, I was reminded of your nails, so I held on. And if I never live to see another day, this is nothing I would change or take away. I've had so many ups that they far outweigh my downs. Lord, I thank you for my life. I realized some didn't make it. I could have been one of the ones who lost my way. And there was times, Lord, I knew I almost went crazy, but I'm still here with my life. It may not be all that I hoped for, and every dream has not yet been realized. And to see your face one day, God, I know it's all going to be worth it. So God, I thank you for my life. We all just need to be thankful for our life. We're here today. We could be gone today. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Bobby. Have a roll call, please.
Councilperson White. Councilperson Zastavny.
Present.
Councilperson Yon.
Present.
Councilperson Maples.
Here.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Here.
Councilperson Gill.
Here.
Councilperson Owen.
Here.
Councilperson Samuel.
Here.
Let the record reflect 8 council members are present.
Minutes to be approved for proceedings for March 6, 2017.
Motion approved.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Can we have approval of the agenda?
There are no changes. Motion to approve.
Hold.
I'm sorry.
if we could add you should have a copy of the real estate lease for community action. If we could add that to the agenda, if there's no objection. And if it is approved, it'll be approved contingent on redevelopment's approval.
Does the council have to approve it?
Yes,
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, we didn't want
If
it.
it's approved tonight, the motion that I'll make will be contingent upon redevelopment's approval.
And add it to new business, make it number 15. Put Cassie Lease under your name then? Would that be fine?
Item 16?
Oh, yes.
So,
No, 15, because report of the council attorney is 15, and he's not until the end of our meeting.
you've got a different agenda than
I got a different agenda?
You're been invited to different meetings.
Oh, this agenda has Shungate Road on it, which was, I think, rescinded. So, the
So
number
do I
15
have the right agenda?
What I got anyway.
Yeah,
Number 15.
Only 15 on the front.
Mark 15 off.
yeah,
So what are we? Oh, Shungate is gone?
yeah, that rescinded.
Okay.
Okay, so I have,
Then the motion then is to approve the agenda with the addition of number 15 under new business, the real estate lease for the Cassie building.
I'll second that.
so I got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Claims to be approved. I did go through claims and found everything in order,
Do you want to do parks first? Or
general.
general? Okay. General claims are $3,197,715.01.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve $3,197,715.01. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Now parks, please.
Parks are at $53,640.27 for your approval.
I had a question about that. Do you know how long we have an employee that went from contract to on staff selling advertising? And I thought that those contracted amounts were going to stop after he got on staff. And
There were some contracts that were signed prior to him being on staff, so once the money is received from the vendor, then
Okay.
that's when he would.
do we have any idea how much is outstanding?
I can get a list for you.
I would appreciate that.
There were
$4,000.
some of the same questions raised prior to today's meeting, and it was explained that those were contracts signed before he became an employee,
Yes.
so we'd still be obligated to those.
I know that there is a large one that is money or products that we'll be receiving for the next 3 years, so he'll get a portion of that also next year, just by how they have structured their payment plan. So it's not the last one.
Any more questions? Then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the $53,640.27 the parks claim. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Report of the clerk. Welcome back.
Thank you. I would have much rather been here with you all on March the 6th versus in the hospital recovering, but I wanted to take time and thank you all for the beautiful plant that you all sent me, and the understanding. Patsy's done an excellent job while I've been out. Also, I'd like to personally thank Nathan, Lisa, the mayor, and Josh Rodriguez for always keeping in contact with me and helping me, coming over to the house and making sure we were okay. And I just wanted to say thank you.
My pleasure. Then it leaves us to Heather Metcalf, 2017 OR 13, an ordinance of additional appropriation. The public hearing will be April 3rd. We did pass this on the 1st, but before she Heather did get everything into the News and Tribune in time as far as advertising for our public hearing, which should have been this meeting, but the lady that handles that was out of the office and didn't get it, so the public hearing, it will be our next council meeting, so we need to pass this in the second reading only. And the same applies for the next one that we tabled, so that'll be, no, we can either pass that in the first or the first and second. Okay.
Just not the 3rd, yes.
I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention.
Thank you.
Motion to approve on the second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pass 2017 OR 13 on the second. Any further discussion?
Just a comment on that one, too. It was changed to the Cume Capital Development Fund like you all requested at the last meeting.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Then we move on to 2017 OR 14.
There were no changes to this one.
Motion to approve on the second.
No,
Oh,
Be
I'm
we
sorry.
tabled that time, right?
That's right, we did table this, didn't we?
So we do this be the first and the second.
Yeah.
Do we,
I've got no love for this one, so
Somebody else want to make a motion, please?
got ahead of myself.
Motion to approve on the first and second.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
So we'll move on.
So I guess it fails for lack of a second. So the refund will not be issued, so I guess we'll notify Andy and let him take it from there.
Okay, yeah, I think it's Stephanie, yeah.
And maybe there's a question that needs to be asked from the council, if there's a policy in place for refunds, or if it's just something that's been understood in other places before, or,
I don't think it's ever been asked before.
I think that's the case.
This is the
I think it'd
first,
be wise to have one moving forward.
I think that,
Sorry.
I think this was the first, it has not been asked for the burring permit, but I do believe in
Yes.
parks there's been refunds, and I also believe in planning and zoning there's been refunds.
Yes,
This is just the first ever in
in the motor vehicle.
motor vehicles for the boring permit into the
Yes.
street.
And do we have specific policies in those other places for those refunds? That it permit those refunds? Because I wouldn't be in favor of those either.
I'm not aware of any policy that would allow
Okay. Well, that's something we need to look into.
If we do look into it, let me throw out, I think that I would be against this refund in particular, specifically, but in general. But I think we should give a time frame. You know, if they come in and ask for a permit, and then the next day come in and say, we made a mistake, we don't want the permit, I would be supportive of giving them, but once the check clears, like, they need to have their act together.
Like they have 3 days or something.
Yeah, and whatever it is, I
Request a
mean,
refund.
we can push around the time however you guys want to, but if we go that far to develop a policy, I'd like to see it have a little bit of a window of rescission.
I would support that.
We'll move on to new business, which is Mr. Merkley, and I do believe you want to take agenda item number 13 first, correct? If I still have the
number
right...
11.
Huh? 11?
We're at 11.
Okay.
This is a resolution approving,
Sorry.
yes, resolution approving the 2017 Employee Benefits section of the City of Jeffersonville Policy and Procedure Manual. The city's in the process of updating the city employee handbook, which ultimately will be approved by the Board of Public Works. However, as the fiscal body, it is your statutory requirement to approve the benefits section of the handbook, which is what you have in front of you. And then once this is approved, then it will go to the Board of Public Works for final approval, including the non-benefits section.
What will the resolution number be?
3.
No one has any... Oh,
May I make a comment? Just a general observation.
okay.
A learning comment.
take note that you have to approve this because there's money involved. However, take note that the handbook that involves work and policy, those things, you don't have to because the administration does that. I
Right.
think it's important to take note and remember because you're involved in other matters that are going to come before you that you're going to deal with, where you all are involved in developing some documents that address work conditions and things that truly, like this, will come back to these folks that are going to have to approve and sign those contracts. So you do, in fact, as Mr. Merkley said, address this money, but this is no different, and this is your obligation only and solely to this, as with other matters you're going to deal with. So this is just a learning experience that I'm addressing right now.
Yeah, because the handbook goes through Board of Public Works
Yes.
for approval. We're just approving the fiscal part of the handbook.
Which is all you ever approve.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Forebodings of things that come.
If there's any questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion. Or if we need more time,
I'll move to accept it.
I'll second.
got a motion and a second, 2017 R3. Is there any further questions, comments?
There's just one little thing. On page 43, we're talking about retired police, firefighter and police officers, and it says they'll pay the same as the active fire police per collective bargaining agreement. Shouldn't we just say per collective bargaining agreement? Because that's something that's negotiated and can change.
Which page are you looking at?
43.
I'm sorry. 43.
Last paragraph of overview.
Page 43.
Yeah, I guess if we change the collective bargaining, we'd have to just change this then?
Yes. That's an
Oh,
existing, it's an existing portion of the, I mean, we can change that, but I mean, yeah, I think if you all would change that portion of the contract, we would come back and change this. And that's your all's decision ultimately anyway. It's not the administration's. So,
I guess I'm okay with that.
So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now I believe you want to do 13.
yeah, I think we have three rezoning issues. We want to deal with number 12 first, and then we'll deal with 13 and 14 sort of together. But number 12 is an ordinance changing zoning on Veterans Parkway from C2 to a C2 PUD. The applicant is here, Jefferson Town Center LLC, to speak on behalf of that application, and then we'll get to the next two, which concern another parcel on Veterans Parkway. And I believe Mr. Walling is here from, well, Jack Cutter's here.
Hi, guys. I'm Jack Cutter. Most of you, I think some of you know who I am, and I'm not going to bore you with a big spiel. I just want to, first of all, I want to give my condolences to the council, too. I am very sorry to you guys and the family. Mr. Rodriguez was a big effort. Appreciate his efforts, and he was a big help to us in the past, and it was a shock, so we're sorry for that, too. But anyway, I don't know how much you want to hear. We've got folks back here that can put on the same show we gave the Plan Commission the other night, and even more if you want it. So I'm not going to sit up here and bore you. I will say that I appreciate all that you've done and the city's done in the past. My family has been holding on to this thing for a while, and we finally got some momentum here, that's really good momentum, and we've intentionally held off on the south side of Veterans Parkway over the last few years because we wanted to make sure it was done right, and now we got a good plan I'm real proud of, and I hope you guys are. So, do you guys want to go through, how much do you want to hear?
I like at least,
Just
because,
an overview.
brief overview, because there is council members that don't
Okay,
hear
that's fine.
that in
That's
planning and
fine.
zoning.
We-
Planning and
we-
zoning just sends it on with either a favorable or unfavorable.
We can-
We're the ones that make the decision.
We're prepared to be here as long as you want us to be. I'm going to let Jason Emily from my company come up, and Brian Pennington. So, yeah, we're not trying to keep this short, we just want to, I want to bore you guys.
we've got some images here. If we can get our tech savvy set up, see what happens. My name's Jason Emily. I'm with Cutter. This is Ryan Pennington. He's with 7 Development. And we're just kind of part of the team, the overall team that's been working on this for quite a few years now. So let me give you a little bit of overview of where we come from and hopefully where we're going. If you guys recall, in 2005, there were 2 planned developments approved for this project. There was Jeffersonville Town Center North and Jeffersonville Town Center South. Jeffersonville Town Center North obviously encompasses the property on the north side of, I was just trying to get on the monitors.
Do I need a minute?
They can see over you. You're not casting a shadow anyway.
We just have to be behind them. Yeah. And that's fine too.
We'll do it again. It won't do it on laptop.
There we go. No. So Jeffersonville Town Center North, obviously that encompasses the north side of Veterans Parkway. So some of the projects that have been developed out there, obviously the Menards, what used to be Accent, which is now another company, a recent multifamily building we've developed, and then some of the commercial development along Veterans Parkway. So that was all done under the original PUD that was approved in '05. That's going to continue to be developed under that PUD. It's a traditional commercial development, so there's really no need to change that. The South PUD, which was approved in '05, was specifically designed and developed and written for a lifestyle center. And that's a type of development that really isn't in favor now. It's not a viable option for us. And so we, in discussion with planning staff, agreed that it was probably time to vacate that PD and look at doing something different. And so part of our conversation with planning was what would be the preferred model for bringing this development through. And based on their recommendation, the PD for the south side kind of was born. And so in thinking about the south side PD, that's going to encompass about 77 acres. The south side has approximately 77 acres. It's going to be based on the underlying C2 zoning. That area encompasses Veterans Parkway over to Hamburg Pike, down to Charlestown to Albany Pike, and then it's kind of bordered by 31, and then the little waterway that we've relocated over the past few years. And that's approximately 16 more acres than what was included in the original PD back in '05. At full build-out, we estimate somewhere between 500,000 and 750,000 square feet of new commercial development on that south side. If you kind of look at this plan, it's broken into really kind of 3 sections. You see the west side of the property that's kind of shaded in yellow, the east side of the property which is shaded in a light green, and then there's a lasso thrown around 2 lots down on Charlestown to Albany Pike. Those are 2 industrial pieces of property, kind of leftover zoning that we're cleaning up. You'll hear those later tonight. Going to take those in a multi-step process from I-1 to C2 and then C2 to C2 PD and bring them into this development. I think the most important piece of the PD puzzle is that we're trying to establish some cohesiveness. We're looking at architectural theming among the retail buildings, both inline buildings and out parcel buildings. And so we've got an architect on board that's really starting to develop, and we're quite a ways through this process. I'm going to show you some images of what these development looks like, kind of give you a feel for why we're developing it the way we are. The other couple of other important pieces of this are looking at a cohesive sign package. So again, we want the south side to kind of stand alone. We want it to be its own entity, but we also want there to be a lot of similarity between the design and the function. And then looking at lighting, all other development standards, we want to standardize for the south side, make sure that once we kind of start with this, what will be the west side, that we carry that theme through on the entire south side. Now, one of the contentious things that came up through the planning process was some of the what may be deemed unfavorable uses from the C2 zoning. Now, obviously, C2 zoning is the underlying zoning, but working with staff, we went through and identified maybe 15 items that we went ahead and omitted from the PD because we know those are some items that maybe aren't the most highest and best use of the property. And so some of those, all of those include auto body repair shops, auto parts stores, auto repair shops, auto service, convenience stores with gas pumps, oil change services, recreational vehicle sales, airports, funeral homes, helipads and heliports, light rail stations, sign painting and fabrication, motor bus stations, railroad stations, ball fields, lumber yards, satellite sales and service, and commercial kennels. So we've essentially taken those off the table. Now we're back to more of the traditional C2 uses that are a little more appropriate for the south side. And again, we're looking at highest, best use of this commercial property. Our intent, there's about 4 or 5 things going on at the same time. So we're looking at a PD for the entire south side of the property, and that's everything on the screen that's outlined in the dashed red line falls under the overall PD. It's our intent to bring in at the end of this month, which most likely is going to be the end of this week, a detailed plan for the west side, and that's the area in yellow. And that is going to be the first piece of this project that will be developed. It's the one we're currently working on leases for right now. And so at the end of this month, we'll file for a detailed plan for the Plan Commission. And that's where we're really going to nail down the nuts and bolts of how the west side of Town Center Boulevard is going to develop. And again, that sets the theme for the overall south side PD development. The other things that are going on is we've got to do a replat because initially in 05, this property was platted a little bit different than it's going to lay out right now. On that note, I just want to be kind of clear to say that what you see on the east side of Town Center Boulevard is conceptual. It's what we do in terms of what we just call marketing plans. We put boxes on paper and draw parking spaces, and then we go out and talk to prospective tenants and say, hey, here's how it could lay out. If you guys needed an outlot on the frontage on Veterans Parkway, here's the square footage that would work and an associated number of parking spaces. So don't get hung up on what you see on the east side. We're definitely a lot further along on the west side as we speak. And then, so we've got PD going on, we've got detailed plans going on, we've got a replat going on, and then we've got the rezoning of the 2 lots to the south. So there's a lot of activity going on simultaneously. We got a lot of balls in the air right now that we're trying to juggle. We're working between city requirements, city codes, best uses for the city, tenant requirements that sometimes, as you know, are a little above and beyond. So we're working our way through that. And then we're going to show you guys some images here of some of the in-progress concepts that we're developing. They're pretty neat. So if you look at this building, this will be the first large building that will be developed. One of the key things here is, for us, is to take our architects and say, okay, how do we take a big box, 55 to 75,000 square foot building, break it down to a human scale, so that when you're standing in front of it, it doesn't feel like you're being overshadowed. It's a comfortable feeling. And then how do we take that big mass of buildings and break them up and create some interesting spaces? So you see there's a little bit of movement between some of the smaller shops and the larger boxes. This plan, I think this plan's already changed, honestly. So I think you're going to see one of the 2 middle-sized boxes on the right side of the plan will probably shift down. So they'll create, it's actually better for us. It creates a little bit more movement along the front of this building. And kind of what that looks like in the real world. That's an elevation of the building, kind of architectural concepts, mixed-use materials, projections, architectural features, landscape. Those are all of the items that we're using to help kind of develop this plan. The building you see, so if we get a little bit of orientation here, Veterans Parkway is on the right. You're looking up Town Center Boulevard. The large building at the corner is our building that we built, multi-retail building, so that's what everybody knows is the Boom Balls building. That's the building you see there. The other outlot buildings are buildings that haven't been developed. They're in concept only. A lot of those depend on how our retailers come back and work with us on how that we can develop those. So this is kind of a feel for what you see at the front. And as you can tell, we're paying a lot of attention to, again, developing the human scale. trying to really get a feel for ground level. So when you get onto this piece of property, especially when you get up in front of the shops, you see light poles with banners, you see landscaping that starts to provide a demarcation between the vehicular and pedestrian areas and really kind of separates those zones because that's an important feature of this development. Kind of ground level, so if you're in the space, the nice thing about us being able to move the buildings and kind of play with the buildings and their plane from a east to west orientation is it creates little plaza spaces for us to do things for pedestrians. So we can have outdoor seating, we can do public art, we can do a lot of different things that you can't see in a traditional flat wall development where you have a 15-foot sidewalk and a big blank wall and you just walk down. And again, the end all here is can we get customers to come out of their vehicles, across the parking lot, onto this facade, and instead of going back to their car and driving down and going back to another building, will they go up and down the sidewalks, use the different spaces, stop in, window shop, kind of create a little bit of a better experience. So this is really the telling picture here because you see there's multiple levels of landscaping, there's outdoor seating, there's a lot of mixed architectural features, materials, and this is where we really try to set up kind of like a little bit of a, I hate to use this word, but a little bit of an oasis within the parking lot because it is a large shopping center. Probably run through the rest of all of these. So signage is a big piece of the puzzle. Again, the concept here is pretty simple. Let's take the south side of Veterans and create a cohesive pattern, a cohesive architectural feel, and develop everything. So you see a couple large monument signs that will be located at the major locations of the development. So that would be Veterans Parkway at Town Center Boulevard, Charlestown and Albany Pike at Town Center Boulevard. You see secondary signs located along Town Center Boulevard and along Hamburg Pike, and then the monument signs. So what we're trying to develop is the code is written to tell you that, to say essentially that each lot gets its own monument sign, but I think what we're going to attempt to sell to some of our tenants is let's cohabitate some of those signages. So instead of having a bunch of monument signs along Veterans Parkway, we can pair up some of these uses on the outlots. That'll offset a little bit of the larger signage that we're asking for along, the major destination locations. This is the intersection. So you're looking up Town Center Boulevard. Veterans Parkway is running east to west in the image, and to your right, if you went up that way, it'd take you back up to the interstate. So this is the large monument sign at the entrance to Town Center Boulevard. And then same image, just kind of up. And if you look in the background, I think you can
down the street.
Additional signs over there. So the signs are a little bit larger than what's typically been approved, but I think it's important to understand that there's thousands of feet between these signs. This is such a large development that really the signs aren't out of scale at all. They're appropriate for the size of the buildings and the size of the overall acreage of development. Got one more. That's it. Any questions?
I'll just make a couple comments. At Planning and Zoning, no one spoke against the project. The mayor spoke for the project. We had some discussion about the height of the signs and the height of the lamp posts, and at the end of the day, everybody was comfortable with it, and it passed with a favorable recommendation.
You don't want to make any public announcements tonight, do you? Since you're here.
No, we don't.
On a check.
We wish.
Well, we're excited. Glad to see this happening. I know the 4th District has been asking Scotty quite a bit. When's this coming? When's this coming? So, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve 2017 OR 15.
Second.
But wait, do I not have to open up in a public hearing first?
I'm just trying to move
Yes.
us along.
It is 15?
Yes.
Yes. At this time, I'm going to officially open up the public hearing. If there's anybody here to wish for or against the rezone from C2 to the C2 PUD. You're seeing none, I'm going to officially close the public hearing. And I already had a motion, a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Mr. Merkley, we got...
Next two matters on your docket are rezoning ordinances, and they pertain to the same parcel property. This is near the Veterans Parkway area, specifically at 100 Technology Way. The next two parcels are being asked, or the request is for those to be rezoned, and they both come to you with a favorable recommendation. I believe this is additional property that has been purchased as part of the development on Veterans Parkway. On your agenda, 14 and 13, probably the correct procedure for us to follow would be first to consider item number 14.
I think it's,
So it's your one that says the C2 to the C2 PD, which is the
No,
PUD.
I'm sorry, no.
they've got it
No,
correct.
they are correct, they are correct. They're going to go from, we're first going to deal with item 13, which we're going to zone this property from I-1 to C2. Once we zone it to C2, then we will zone it from C2 to the C2 PUD, which you just rezoned the other parcels on Veterans Parkway to that effect. I believe John Walling is here to represent the applicant, J Commercial Properties. These would require two separate hearings on all two separate votes, but I will turn it over to Mr. Walling.
Thanks, Les. Good evening, John Walling with Cutter Development. First, I'd like to echo Jack Cutter's condolences on Mr. Rodriguez. He's a very kind man, a very good friend. We'll miss him. We appreciate all his service, and I'm sure y'all are feeling that loss tonight. The issue with the rezoning on the 6 acres adjacent to the Whitesell property is that our intention is to bring that into the commercial development and try to give some separation to that light industrial use. We're all very appreciative of what Whitesell has done in rehabilitating that property, and we are working with them to further improve that image. They're very interested in that discussion. The first thing we have to do is get it from I-1 to C2, and then on the next docket is from C2 to C2 PD, and that's the ministerial way of transferring that zoning. If there's any questions that I can answer, it will be part of the overall PD. So what you've seen or what you've heard from Jason and also through Nathan is basically what that property will end up being developed. It'll be limited by the same use groups. If there's anything I can do to answer your questions, I'd be glad to do it.
Just to clarify, we saw a yellow part and a green part, and then we saw a gray part. We're talking about the gray part at the bottom, those two
That
lots
is
that are
correct.
down there.
Yes, sir.
Still part of the same overall development.
Yes, sir.
Yes, the last one.
Is there any questions or comments before I open up to public hearing? Okay. Seeing none, I'd officially like to open up the public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak for or against this zoning change? Seeing none, I'll officially close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Motion to approve 17 OR 16.
Second?
I got a motion and a second to pass 2017 OR 16. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So I'm going to go right on into, I'm going to go ahead, unless there's any questions or concerns of changing it from the C2, which we just rezoned, to the C2 PUD, I'm going to open up public hearing. This time, I'm going to officially open up the public hearing. Anybody wish to speak for or against the rezone of the C2 to the C2 PUD? Seeing none, I'm officially closed public hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
So moved for 17 OR 17.
I got a motion and a second. It was seconded by Councilperson White, if you didn't hear him. Okay. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Report of the city attorney.
Got the Hossie lease.
Oh, that's right. I'm just on a roll tonight.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank
An
you.
exciting project.
Councilperson White, the Cassie lease, which we were given that before the meeting.
Yes. First, let me thank you for allowing me to add this to the agenda today. One of the reasons, I expected it to have already gone before the redevelopment commission, but they canceled their meeting last week. And the reason time is kind of the essence is that community action is under considerable pressure from called IHCDA. It's the funder for the Section 8 the weatherization, and the micro enterprise programs to have a lease. We've been going month to month since the original lease expired. And so we had been in negotiations with the redevelopment director, Mr. Ways, and finalized this lease. And because of the way they're going to have the next meeting and then in council to put us into April, so that's why I wanted for us to consider it today. And if we do approve it, it will be contingent upon redevelopment's approval. If anybody has any questions about it, I'll be happy to answer them.
I would just add that redevelopment and the Cassie Board have been negotiating this lease since the last lease expired, and this actually, I think we came to an agreement towards the end of February, but the agreement, hadn't been put in writing for the commission to act on at their February meeting, and then we moved our March meeting up to last week, and then we had to cancel, so it's been a series of events that have kind of led to a long period of time of having this ready, but not having it before the actual board for approval. But I think that you'll find that redevelopment will be approving this at our next meeting without any issue. So I'll be supporting.
I do have a question. Under number 34, replacement lease, there's some wording that I guess I just wanted to get some clarification on. It says, under 34, I think it's the second, starting with the second sentence, tenant acknowledges that there is or may have been past due rental amounts due and owed to landlord under the prior lease. However, landlord acknowledges that tenant expended funds maintaining the building and premises for years prior to 2015, for which landlord is responsible under the prior lease. Both parties acknowledge the difficulty in assessing the exact amounts of past due rent owed by tenant versus maintenance expenses paid. And then they both agree that that there's offsetting amounts. I was just curious, what kind of amounts are we talking about? Was it pretty insignificant, or is there significant past due that? I don't come across those kind of terms too often, I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't in the negotiations between the director and both directors, Director of Casey and redevelopment, on the amounts of things were paid. I think I remember hearing some around $40,000 that community action expended for repairs. And according to the terms of the prior lease, the rent was $15,000 a month, and $5,000 would go to a maintenance account up to $100,000. And if there was any back rent, then any back rent would come out of that $100,000. There was never a request from the $100,000 to pay for any of the maintenance Casey did on their own. So that's what they're talking about. So the question about the reason, I think there was $30,000, so 2 payments that had not been caught up. So that was the offsetting amount, because I think Casey spent about 40 on the maintenance.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that sound right, Russ?
Any further questions?
Other questions? The rent went down to $7,500 a month. That was also something, we had to do a cost, kind of a rent analysis that the funder made us do, which we're funded indirectly through the state of Indiana. It's federal funding through the state of Indiana. And we had to do a rent analysis for a community action, and they accepted the sum of $7,500 a month for rent. And that's to increase, as you can see on the front page, I believe that's a 3% increase over the 10-year period. But there's an additional $417 that will go to a maintenance fund. We're going to open up a joint account, community action and the redevelopment, where to pay for any future maintenance will have to be paid for with a dual signature out of that account only. And over 10 years, the 417 equals $50,000, and redevelopment will put $50,000 in that joint account as well. And those are only 2 main changes.
If there aren't any other questions or concerns, I would move that we accept the lease pending vote of the redevelopment commission.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Now, Mr. Wilder, do we have a report from our city council attorney?
No, I'm feeling unloved because there's just nothing to talk about.
All right.
Got Les over here, and just can't stir anything up, telling me to have anything to do, so
Okay.
this is my bad.
Department heads. I see nothing. Okay, moving on. Was there any public comment? Excuse me, we're feeling the love, but was there any public comment?
No.
Okay, good, thank you.
It's all private right here.
All right, so then we'll move on to council comments. So Councilperson White.
Kids of Head Start, thank you for approving the lease. That's all I have.
Councilperson Rescott.
Yeah, I have something. I think it was 2 council meetings ago, there was a zoning ordinance that would pass from planning and zoning, and it came to us, and we tabled it, and I don't think it's been back up since. And if we don't take action on that within 90 days, it will pass because it was brought to us with a favorable recommendation. So we need to take action on that, because I think, I don't know for sure, but I think the inclination is that the council is not for making those changes. And I think even the administration is not really for making those changes anymore either. It was the one that was talking about density changes
The zoning
and
amendment?
setbacks. I mean, Mr. Pruitt can maybe refresh some of,
I thought they withdrew that.
No, we withdrew that before there was a public hearing, so it did not trigger that.
even though it passed with a favorable recommendation from planning and zoning.
That portion of the statute does not go into effect until you all conduct your public hearing and then you table it. It's not tabled, it's just dead.
See, I always thought if there was no action from the council, then it'd go ahead.
The intent of the statute is that once you introduce it in a public hearing, you can't continue to table it. Long before it gets to you all, and before there's a public hearing, it's triggered, that does not affect.
Okay, because I do know there's some concerned citizens that think that that's the case, and that's what I thought it was the case also, since we didn't take action.
It's dead, we're not,
It's not, so it's
So
dead.
for the record,
Okay.
for the record, the administration is not asking you to take any action. Therefore, you can't. Therefore, there's no time frame. So am I correct in saying that the administration is not asking the council to take any action?
that's correct, there's no, and
Underline that.
it is a dead.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the clarification. That's all.
Councilperson Young.
Yeah, I had a chance to go to the service earlier today for Councilman Rodriguez, and I just want to say that I think it's a testament to the impact that he had on the community. There was standing room only in the church, and it was a great memorial to him. And I think the message from the service today was to fight for what you believe in with the same passion that Josh did. And I think as council members, we all have that in our hearts as well moving forward, and to not forget how big of an impact we have in these positions, and to make sure that we keep the residents that we serve in mind, just as Josh did. So that's my only comment.
Councilperson Maples.
Just that I was happy that the Veterans Parkway project passed tonight. I know we hear a lot about the 1st District and the 6th District a lot. This is, even though it's in Ed's district,
District 2.
District 2. It greatly benefits District 4, and I've seen it being very well received by my constituents.
Councilperson Hawkins.
Nothing.
Councilperson Owen.
First, I just wanted to extend my condolences to Mr. Rodriguez's family on their loss, and I got a quote today. I get daily quotes, and today's was Emerson, and it was, it's not the length of life, but it's the depth that counts. And I know that the outpouring of support for the Rodriguez family that has had this week is a testament to that depth. Mr. Rodriguez certainly had a lot of passion for his community and for the city of Jeffersonville. But then secondly, I wanted to ask The president of the Parks Authority wanted to come and present the updated Parks Master Plan to the city council.
Yes, I was going to talk about doing that in the workshop.
Yeah, I think there was a request for him to be here tonight. I think the mayor's office was on board with him being here tonight, but he was told that maybe a workshop would be more appropriate. We actually would like to offer the idea of doing a joint executive session, not only to, we had hoped to already have gone over the master plan tonight, but to have an executive session to discuss maybe entering into some contracts to further the vision of that master plan. So if it would be appropriate to have a joint executive session for that purpose.
It's the first I'm hearing of that, so.
To either, I'm sorry, executive session to discuss entering a contract or purchase of property or any kind of matter such as that, which I think would qualify. We intended to make that request after the presentation tonight, but we can do that at the same time, I guess, in the effort to keep things moving along. So we would like to do that before our next council meeting.
Like before the next Parks meeting? Is that next week?
No, I don't think we were thinking before the next Parks meeting, but before the 3rd, so it was more convenient for the council to be here on a night that they already have to meet. And we were thinking meet at 5:45 so we could be done in an hour for the, by 6:45. I don't know if anybody has any conflicts with that or not. Mm-hmm.
No. So you want to do April 3rd, isn't there a redevelopment meeting at 6?
Do we have a redevelopment meeting scheduled for that?
I have it written down, but sometimes I just randomly write down things, so.
Monday the 6th?
The 3rd.
The
Your next
3rd.
meeting's April 3rd.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at March. My mistake.
There is?
At 6? Well, that won't work then. We will have to come back to reschedule. We'll try sending an email out and get something scheduled.
Councilperson Samuel.
Yeah, just to kind of follow up what everybody said about Councilperson Rodriguez. I do want to thank the administration and the police for their show today from the standpoint of putting on a class act and honoring a fallen councilperson. It was very impressive, and the whole memorial service was impressive. But I thought the city went above and beyond, and I really appreciate that. I tried to convey that to all those that I could, but I do want to say it publicly tonight. Switching gears, for the council, if you take one and pass it, we're about to do the utility boxes, to paint the utility boxes that we've talked about. My understanding is from the city engineer, these are the boxes that are available that either we own or we have permission or the rights to do. So if you would email me if you have a preference, if there's any in your district, if there's not in your district, and we've overlooked it, we'll be glad to check to see if we have the ability to do that. But that list was compiled by both Paul Northam, who's on our commission, as well as Andy Crouch, the city engineer. So we'll be going, moving forward with this project. We're about to put it out, if it's not already out, for proposals from artists. It'll be going out any day, and it'll be a month or so before we actually do the project. But I want to get that to you. I've spoken to you about it before.
How many do you plan on doing?
The question was how many are we planning on doing? A minimum of 9, maybe 12, up to 12. We're trying to determine the cost, the funding, if we have it. So we're that. So if you just get back to me, and if you, I'm going to take the position, if I haven't heard from you, then it doesn't matter, and then the commission will go ahead and make the decisions if we don't have your input. I want to make the folks aware, some may be aware, some may not be aware. We had a member of the Parks Advisory Committee, his name was Scott Edwards. He's actually my brother-in-law. He was is in Phoenix with his son for a spring break. They went to watch some of the pro baseball have some of their fall or spring ball practices and things. He was involved with he was hiking, and he got extreme heat exhaustion on Sunday, and he actually is in intensive care. They didn't know if he would make it through last night. It's that severe. So there's the word that I got just before the meeting tonight was he's trending positively. So I know some of his vital organs were beginning to shut down even. So it's really severe, and he's a young, he's 48 years old, and just we just had Josh, and then we had this, and it just reminds me of the preciousness of life. But I wanted you to make everybody aware of that because he served for a number of years on our Parks Advisory as a volunteer, and his name was Scott Edwards, or is Scott Edwards. And my last comment, it's good to have our clerk with us tonight. I know she's been kind of homebound, and we appreciate her making an effort to come out, and glad you're with us. That's all I have. Lisa.
Are you sure, Councilperson Owen? He said he wanted to add to his...
I was just going to add that Ms. Conlon's staff hasn't missed a beat. I mean, they've done a great job as far as I think we can tell. It's
So what are we saying?
I'll like seeing your...
Goodness gracious.
I get a lot of phone calls.
Well, let me just add to that. Just because Vicki is not physically in that office, Vicki is in that office. She keeps her thumb on everything and does an excellent job, and we appreciate that. I believe Councilperson Yan asked for the floor.
I just wanted to make a mention while you brought attention to this art project in reference to the sculptures that are going to be at the 6 benches, or we'll actually have 4 sculptures. Those have been selected. We had a fantastic meeting last week. I believe 6 residents of Oak Park were invited to be judges and weigh their opinions on those art pieces, and Dawn did a fantastic job involving the neighborhood since they're going to be the ones looking at it every single day. And so I can go ahead and forward the 4 selected sculptures to the council. I believe those will be put up in July, Nathan, correct? So that's coming, and those will be able to, as a reminder, rotated. So as we add more of those sculpture pads and benches, we can move them around the city. So commends to Don and to Nathan for that happening and for involving the neighborhood. I know it's really appreciated.
There you go. And just to add to that note, I went out, I think it was about a week and a half ago, with Andy Crouch and with Don. As you all know, the Hopkins sidewalk, we walked that and mapped that all out and went back and identified 2 areas to put the bench and a piece of artwork along Hopkins, so that's moving forward. And I think that adds a lot. When talking with some of the neighbors out there, they're really excited because they like what they're seeing, and it really looks good. It's really going to clean up the area. I also, too, wanted to commend the JPD Honor Guard, their professionalism. I mean, they did not skip a beat. It was so moving and it was so professional, and at that moment when they handed the flag off to Chief Kavanaugh and then off to our mayor, and to watch the mayor to present to his wife was a very moving, and even you could tell it emotionally moved the mayor too, but it was a very touching moment on top of it was a very unique to Josh service. I mean, they really captured who he was and what he did for the community, and I was happy to be a part of that. But if you'd please pass on that to them, it was very well done. And I did have where I was going to schedule a parks, when I talked to Mr. Burns, we said workshop, so I guess we will try to coordinate some times if we're going to do that as an executive session, and I too wanted to welcome back our city clerk. And I also talked with our city clerk. Councilperson Rodriguez's nameplate will stay up as upon my request, and she agrees until that seat is his and until it is officially not his anymore, but it will stay up as an honor and for us to remind it kind of what Callie had said earlier. A lot of responsibility goes in the seats that we hold, and you don't realize the ripple effects of everything that we do, everything we say, how it affects the community. And I too hope one day that I leave a legacy behind where it's people realize that what you did was for the betterment and the good of your community, and you did what was right for the community. So as for that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Meeting adjourned.